Magomed Ankalaev just did what many thought was impossible. He shut down Alex Pereira and left UFC veterans speechless. Now, the MMA world is scrambling to make sense of what just happened. For weeks, UFC legends and analysts were confident that Pereira's power and striking would be too much for Ankalaev. Some even dismissed Ankalaev as just another wrestler who wouldn't handle the champ's pressure. But after 5 rounds of dominance, he's forced everyone to eat their words. Pereira, who once seemed unstoppable, struggled to find answers. Was it just a bad night, or has Ankalaev exposed a real weakness in his game? More importantly, does this loss change Pereira's trajectory in the UFC? This fight could be a turning point for both men, and the fallout is just beginning. Stick around as we break down the fight, the reactions, and what comes next. Before UFC 313, Ankalaev was seen as a strong contender, but not as the man to dethrone Pereira. UFC legends like Michael Bisping, Robert Whittaker, Israel Adesanya, and Henry Cejudo had all publicly backed Pereira, emphasizing his knockout power and ability to handle high-pressure fights. Pereira's impressive track record, 3 title defenses in just 175 days, made him seem unstoppable. But Ankalaev was confident. At the pre-fight press conference, he boldly declared, "Everyone is saying, Chama, 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 but guess what? Chama, time is over." Many brushed off his words, believing Pereira would overwhelm him. Instead, Ankalaev backed up every bit of his talk. From the opening bell, Ankalaev executed a game plan that completely neutralized Pereira's striking. He didn't get drawn into wild exchanges, didn't allow Pereira to set up his lethal left hook, and used his wrestling and clinch work to wear down the Brazilian. One of the most impressive aspects of his win, he did it all during Ramadan. Fasting while training and cutting weight is no easy feat, yet Ankalaev managed to perform at the highest level, proving his mental and physical toughness. By the end of 5 rounds, there was no doubt who the better fighter was that night. Ankalaev's victory wasn't a lucky shot or a controversial decision. It was a dominant performance. After securing the belt, Ankalaev wasted no time addressing those who had doubted him. He took to X, formerly Twitter, and posted a video compilation of UFC veterans and champions who had picked Pereira to win. His message? "Sorry guys, I disappointed you." It was a bold move, but it drove home his point. He wasn't just here to win, he was here to prove people wrong. Even Michael Bisping, who had been vocal about Pereira's power, had no choice but to acknowledge Ankalaev's dominance. He responded with humility, tweeting, "Haha, you proved me wrong, champ. Congrats." With the light heavyweight belt now around his waist, Ankalaev has completely shifted the landscape of the division. His dominant wrestling and composure under pressure make him a nightmare matchup for anyone. Whether it's a rematch with Pereira or a new contender, one thing is clear. The days of doubting Ankalaev are over. One of the biggest criticisms of Pereira's performance was his lack of aggression. Michael Bisping bluntly stated that he didn't see the desire to win. For a fighter known for his deadly left hook and ruthless finishing ability, Pereira seemed overly cautious, never fully committing to his attacks. A major factor in this was Ankalaev's power and pressure. Even though Pereira defended all 12 of Ankalaev's takedown attempts, the constant threat of the takedown forced him to fight on the back foot. He was hesitant to throw combinations, worried that overcommitting would leave him open to a level change. Instead of setting the pace, he let Ankalaev dictate the fight. While Pereira's takedown defense was impressive, MMA isn't just about stopping takedowns, it's about winning fights. Ankalaev didn't need to take Pereira down to control the fight. His pressure alone was enough. Ankalaev used smart feints and forward movement to keep Pereira guessing. By constantly pressuring and closing the distance, he shut down Pereira's ability to set up his strikes. This was key. Pereira is at his most dangerous when he's dictating range and luring opponents into traps. But But Ankalaev never let that happen. Pereira isn't used to being on edge in striking exchanges, but Ankalaev made him uncomfortable. Ankalaev was not only big and strong for the division, but he also had the striking skill to compete with Pereira on the feet. This left Pereira in an unusual situation. He wasn't winning the wrestling battle, and he wasn't winning the striking battle either. Ankalaev's kicks, counters, and ability to absorb Pereira's power shots all played a role in keeping Powhatan from gaining any momentum. One of the biggest takeaways from this fight was Pereira's inability to adjust mid-fight. Fighters like Israel Adesanya and John Jones are known for adapting to their opponents as the fight progresses. But Pereira never found a way to counter Ankalaev's pressure. Instead of changing his approach, using more lateral movement, attacking the body, or clinching to slow down Ankalaev, he continued to fight the same way, hoping for an opening that never came. As a result, Ankalaev controlled the pace, landed more shots, and won the fight convincingly. One of the biggest concerns surrounding Pereira leading up to UFC 313 was his lack of full commitment to the fight. Instead of spending every moment preparing for Ankalaev, Pereira was in Australia just 2 weeks before his title defense, cornering Sean Strickland at UFC 312. This wasn't just a side note, it was a red flag. UFC veterans like Daniel Cormier noticed it immediately, questioning why Pereira was so far from Vegas while Ankalaev was already locked in, training at the UFC Performance Institute. On the Good Guy, Bad Guy podcast, Cormier stated, "What is Pereira still doing in Australia? He fights in 2 weeks. Ankalaev's already here. He's in Vegas. I ran into him at the UFC PI last week. He is honestly so locked in, ready to win this fight against Alex Pereira." Was Pereira taking Ankalaev lightly? If so, he's now paying the price. The good news for Pereira is that this wasn't a one-sided fight. He defended all 12 of Ankalaev's takedown attempts, and though he lost on the scorecards, the fight was competitive enough to warrant a potential rematch. With Dana White already hinting at it, the UFC could soon confirm a second fight between the two. If that happens, Pereira will have a chance to fix his mistakes and reclaim his belt, but this time he'll need to be fully locked in. No distractions, no other obligations, just 100% focus on Ankalaev. Before UFC 313, there was serious talk about Pereira moving up to heavyweight to challenge the winner of John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. That fight now seems unlikely for now, but if Pereira struggles to regain his light heavyweight title, a move up might still be in his future. His power would translate well at heavyweight, and with his striking skills, he could be a dangerous matchup for many in that division. So, what's next for Alex Pereira? Is he gearing up for revenge, or is this the start of a new chapter? One thing's for sure, he's not done yet. Whether it's a rematch with Ankalaev or a move to heavyweight, Powhatan still has plenty of fight left in him. But here's the big question. Will he make the right adjustments and come back stronger? Or did UFC 313 expose a weakness that could change his career forever? We'll be keeping a close eye on what happens next, so make sure to stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Pereira will bounce back and reclaim his belt? Or is the light heavyweight division moving on without him? Let's talk about it.